My Journey on the Titanic, a Survivor's Account. My name is Margaret Turner. I was 24 years old when I boarded the RMS Titanic on April 10, 1912. I was traveling second class bound for New York City to join my brother and his wife who had settled in Brooklyn. I remember the excitement in the air at Southampton, people bustling, trunks being loaded, and the sheer awe on every face as they looked upon that gleaming ship. The Titanic was unlike anything I'd ever seen. She was a floating palace. My cabin was comfortable and modern, running water, electric lights, and even a writing desk. It was more than I'd expected, far more than I was used to. That first day we explored the ship. I stood on deck watching the shoreline disappear, with a strange mixture of fear and freedom in my chest. The days aboard were like a dream. I took my meals in the second-class dining saloon, white tablecloths, fine food, and friendly company. I became acquainted with a young Irish schoolteacher named Nora Brennan, who was also heading to America for a new life. We spent hours walking the deck, sipping tea, and watching the waves churn behind the ship. There was a sense of invincibility aboard. Everyone said she was unsinkable. The crew, the passengers, even the posters said so. We had no reason to doubt it. On Sunday, April 14th, the sea was calm, eerily so. The air was bitter cold that evening, and I remember Nora saying it felt like we were sailing through glass. That night, I retired to my cabin early, planning to write a letter home. I had just begun when I felt a strange jolt, not violent but noticeable. The engine stopped not long after. At first, I thought little of it. People in the corridors were murmuring, speculating. I slipped on my coat and went out to see what was happening. A steward assured us it was nothing serious, just a precaution. But soon we were told to put on life jackets and come on deck. That's when fear began to set in. The stars were blindingly clear above us. The air cut like knives. I clutched Nora's hand as we stood waiting. There was still no panic, not yet. The crew kept their voices calm, directing women and children into lifeboats. I didn't want to go without knowing what was really happening, but a sailor said sharply, "This is not a drill. Get in." Nora and I were separated at the boat. She was pushed back in the crowd, and I was lifted over the side into Lifeboat 6. I shouted her name, but my voice was swallowed by the night. The boat began to lower. I never saw her again. We drifted in silence, the cold penetrating to the bone. Some women sobbed quietly. Others sat in stunned silence, staring back at the ship. And then, we saw her lights flicker. The sinking of the Titanic is something I can barely put into words. One moment she was magnificent, defiant. The next, she broke in two, her bow slipping beneath, and then the stern stood upright, black against the starlit sky before it plunged down with a roar that shook the sea. Then silence, a deadly empty silence.